He accidentally dropped his backpack into the river. At 60 years old, he didn't hesitate for a second before plunging into the rushing, ice-cold water. The backpack was swept downstream by the current, but inside was something he'd risk his life to save. He swam desperately toward the bag, clutched it to his chest, and let the river carry them both until he managed to grab onto a tree branch near the shore. At his age, he couldn't handle this kind of ordeal anymore. Yet something had driven him to walk 800 kilometers on foot. What was so precious in that backpack? The answer goes back to a phone call he received from France, over 4,000 miles away, telling him his son had died. On the train to France, Tom could almost see his son as he used to be, full of life and ambition. His son had abandoned his doctoral studies to travel the world and thought his father should join him. But Tom had said that few people could just drop everything like that. He'd chosen his current life, and even if it meant nothing to his son had told him that Tom wasn't really living, he was just existing. Like most parents, Tom was one of those who never really understood their children. He didn't grasp what his son's words meant. When he got off the train, Tom's business suit made him stick out like a sore thumb among all the travelers in their hiking gear. The police captain who'd contacted him picked him up and brought him to the station. It's devastating for any gray-haired father to face his young son's death, and walking into the morgue took tremendous courage. Tom's eyes darted around. He couldn't quite accept what was happening. But when he saw his son lying there, his heart sank. This single father's helplessness was laid bare, and the grief and despair he'd been holding back finally burst out. From now on, he'd be completely alone. The captain explained that this was the Camino de Santiago, the starting point for pilgrims walking the ancient route. Everyone who begins this journey gets a pilgrim's passport, and completing the nearly 500-mile trek means getting it stamped at important stops along the way. The captain offered to arrange cremation so Tom could more easily take his son home, but Tom didn't respond. He went outside to try to collect himself. A Dutch guy named Joost sat down next to him and started talking about how he was doing the pilgrimage to lose weight. He also mentioned that just a couple days ago, someone had died right after starting the journey. That someone was Tom's son. That night, going through his son's belongings and looking at the photos he'd left behind, Tom finally broke down and cried. He knocked on the captain's door, desperate to have his son cremated right away. And so Daniel became a small box of ashes, while Tom inherited his son's gear and decided to carry him along to finish the journey his son couldn't complete and to finally understand this son he'd never really known. Before leaving town, the captain found him and gave him a stone. He understood Tom's devastating loss because he'd lost a child too. The captain wished him well and they said goodbye, but as Tom walked away, the captain called out he was heading in the wrong direction. Nobody knew if confused old Tom could actually finish the Camino, not even Tom himself.